I do want to touch on Steve-O, your
Yep.
teammate.
Yep.
And I don't want to know the intimate details
Yeah.
of what unfolded, but I suppose for me, it's more so the lessons that came out of it.
Mm.
And how low did you get in
Yeah.
that time?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I've spoken about it a lot, but a single biggest mistake I made in my football career, um, the way I justified it was for a long time was I'd had the opportunity to do, the wrong thing many times, and that's not sounding like a wanker or a
Yeah.
dick, but I had the opportunity to do that exact thing many times and never did it. But you make the one mistake, and I've lived with that. The other thing about it is I thought I could handle at the time I think it was 14 front pages of the Herald Sun, and it went on for months and months and
Yeah.
months. And if you wouldn't see a player that would go through that now. And there's been people that have that have things have happened in the last 10 years, and there's no reporting of it anymore and stuff. But I guess, and I guess that's what I dealt with for a long time. It was me saying, well, how can this, it was just a massive story. You fly to
Yeah.
the US, you could have played in 10 grand finals in a row and kicked 20 goals in each of those grand finals, and they're not waiting for you at the airport in LA, whereas, you do that. And, it was the lowest I got was, I wouldn't come out of my apartment. I still trained for my mental state. So I at least was able to get myself up so I'd go running at like 10 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
and I'd go to the gym, the apartment, 10 o'clock at night, no one there, do a gym workout, go for a run. I wasn't able to even, put my head, outside during the day.
Yeah.
For a long period of time. There was a lot of, obviously there was guilt, there was shame, there's toxic shame, and that lasted forever and a day.
Yeah.
And and then then for a long period you think, then it was like, oh, move on, but you're not really moving on. You're giving off the persona and the perception to everyone else that you've moved on, but you haven't really. It's only, like I said, it's really only been the last few years that I've been able to truly forgive myself and move on, like since I've spoken to Tess. So I haven't said that to anyone, but that's truly how long it's taken me. It's truly how long I've had my head in the sand about that.
Is that because of the shame that's attached to it and the way that it's impacted other people, or do you think it's because of the gratitude that other people made it out to be?
I think it's a combination of all. It's who it affects. I mean, all of these things happened before any of my kids were born. And I've got 4 kids now, and it continually now it still affects them. Well, it doesn't affect the younger ones because they don't know, but things keep getting brought up now, and we're still talking about it now. But it's how it affects, So my mum's passed now, but it affected her for a long time. My poor sisters, who one of them's a complete angel, and she's had to carry the last name Carey for her whole life.
Shout out to her.
Yeah. No, but she, and brothers and stuff. Like it's the ripple effect, and that's my side, and then obviously you've got the other side as well. And for whatever reason, and this is what I couldn't come to terms with for a long time, the fascination with wanting to, why it was still a big thing. And, there's been plenty of examples of, over the last 10 years of similar stuff happening. And unfortunately it's life, and people move on, and people do the wrong thing, and people fall out of love, and people have affairs, and it is what it is. But for whatever reason, the fascination around it, and the I guess
judgment.
the judgment around, and so it just continually sits there. Like I said, I actually have forgiven myself now. It'll always still sit there.
Yeah.
But I've finally forgiven myself. I just wish, I've said this, I just wish I'd met someone like Tess, or had the brains, or had the advice to sort of seek that more many years ago, because I would have been a lot happier, a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but you build this mask, and you live in this world that you think that you have overcome it, but in reality you hadn't.
It's still bubbling away.